So over the past few weeks, we were having discussions on topics that are experienced by those who are engaged in practicing bhakti. So they're relevant to not just from an academic theoretical perspective, but from a more practical perspective of active engagement. So I had a couple of more recommendations that I wanted to discuss as part of this series, and I'd also send out I guess a feeler to see if you would be interested in like a semi-fast track discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. One chapter a week takes us 18 weeks to finish it. And this is basically Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of practicing devotees. So Bhagavad Gita, of course, is discussed from many perspectives. Can be discussed from perspectives of those who are new to Krishna consciousness, from a purely philosophical perspective. But this would be more from the perspective of us as devotees who are practicing in the sense there's a certain amount of conviction already there, and the level of understanding that we're looking to obtain from the Bhagavad Gita is one of those who is also putting it into practice. So prior to that, I had a recommendation of having discussed determination, also discuss two related aspects in devotional service, which is patience and enthusiasm. So with your permission and blessings, I wanted to have some discussion on this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Shivadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravane Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunavati Pashachadeshatarane. So in one of the books that is considered to be very relevant to practicing devotees, Updeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami, who is one of the founding acharyas of this message that was given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was a direct associate of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu personally gave him instructions, taught him the science of Krishna consciousness, and empowered him to write and disseminate that. So he wrote many books. One of the books that he wrote is a smallish book called Nectar of Instruction, Updeshamrita, with only 11 verses in it, in which he talks about how does one practice Krishna consciousness. And in one of the verses he says that Utsaha Nishchayat Dhairyat. He talks about things that are favorable to practicing devotee, and he talks about Utsaha Nishchayat Dhairyat. So last time we spoke about Nishchayat. We spoke about Dhruva, who is an embodiment of determination. So we discussed his past time about how as a child he was so fixed in his resolve that earlier on his resolve was that he wanted to best his father, to get a kingdom that was bigger than his father. But then his resolve changed, His resolve became that he wanted to associate. He wanted association of the personality of Godhead. And he actually achieved that. So determination is actually the fulcrum that comes between patience and enthusiasm. So all three are important. Utsaha, Nishchay, Dhairya, all three are important. So at one end, there is enthusiasm. So enthusiasm is the enthusiasm to practice Krishna consciousness. And enthusiasm is important because it is what inspires us to practice on an ongoing basis. So does anybody, or can anybody think of personalities that represent enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness? Enthusiasm in bhakti.
Hanumanji.
Lord Hanuman, he is one of them.
Kunti Devi.
Kunti Devi is actually more an example of patience. So Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, if you look at his mood of service to Lord Ram, so when Lord Ram asked Hanuman to find Sita Devi, so not only does he find Sita Devi, he goes and burns Lanka also. When he was asked to get when Lakshman was shot by Indrajit, so he was asked to get this herb, and he got the whole mountain. When the bridge was being built, then Samudradev had said, you put stones, and by the stones the bridge will be built. And Hanuman was actually getting peaks. He was breaking peaks of the mountains and getting it there. And that enthusiasm really opened the heart of Lord Ram to him. That we can see so much affection of Lord Ram towards Hanuman. He always kept him close. And more than Lord Ram, Sita Devi was affectionate to Hanuman. She considered him just like her son. So because Hanuman he had a tendency to be exuberant, and Lord Ram would tend to kind of dampen it. And Sita Devi, just like a mother who is always lobbying for her son to her husband, Sita Devi was always there to make the case for Lord Hanuman. So why is enthusiasm important for us in the practice of bhakti? The reason that it is important is because when we start our devotional practices, then we start based on an understanding of the importance of doing it. Very few of us are fortunate enough to start because we have a natural taste for it. Very few of us have a natural attraction to it. But at some point, for whatever reasons, maybe because of Purva Priti, maybe because in the past we had attraction, maybe because of mercy, but that conviction comes into our heart that this is something that is good for us. This is something that is going to help us. Based on that conviction, we take to the process. Not because we have a lot of spontaneous attraction to it. Some may, but for the most, that is not true. So how do we keep ourselves alive? Having this philosophical conviction, but not that much taste. So Rupa Goswami says, utsaha. That whatever we should do it with enthusiasm. Or putting it the other way, or rather than me putting it, maybe I can hear from you, because all of you are practicing devotees. How do you generate enthusiasm in your devotional practices?
One thought generally it is gratitude that we are putting a lot of efforts for our sake. So, at least, some percentage of that if we put, that is justifying at least from our end.
Okay, that's good. Sense of gratitude and reciprocation. Thank you.
By being in the right association, Prabhuji?
Yes. Thank you.
So, for example, when we do service together, even on Sundays, we look at each other and we saw a lot of devotees cleaning pots like anything, and they do it so, with a lot of gratitude and relentlessly. So that also inspires and brings enthusiasm.
Okay. Good point. Thank you, Rajneesh Prabhu. What else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Amrita Leela. Listening to different lectures, associating with devotees and getting inspired with their lives, they are leading the peacefulness that whatever we used to see, they are very calm and they are not distorted with other material activities. So lots of things around us, especially activities from the temple, from the devotees, and different programs. So lots of bhakti-related activities inspire us to participate enthusiastically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mita.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking, even believing that you are doing this service for Krishna and this will make Krishna happy. With that belief, you can, enthusiasm will automatically come. This will please Krishna.
Good. Thank you. Very good point, Shivani. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, by listening to Kirtan, and this Priyanka is saying by cooking delicious prasadam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol Shivani, go ahead.
Haribol Prabhu. I was just thinking that when we are in association, it's considerably easy to be enthusiastic in your service. It's when we are all by ourselves, when we are leading our own personal devotion, that's the time we need to be. It's the faith in Krishna, the faith in the holy name is what will keep us enthusiastic.
Very good point. Thank you, Shivani.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I also feel like by serving the deities, whether it's in your home or temple, especially when I dress up deities and they look a certain way and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It builds my enthusiasm to serve them or to chant or to do things.
Deity service.
Yeah, deity service.
Okay. Thank you, Seema. Okay, so very, very good points. Gratitude, Vaishnav Sangha, listening to lectures, taking inspiration from others, attending programs, having conviction about the need to please Krishna, Kirtan, Prasadam, deity service. So if we look at it, if we take a step back, then we see that there is an underlying trend over here. One is let's look at it from an opposite perspective. What is it that dampens enthusiasm the most? So one thing that dampens enthusiasm the most is monotony. If you do the same thing over and over and over, that will automatically take away one's enthusiasm. Now, the whole process of sadhana bhakti is based on doing the same thing over and over again. You get up in the morning, you chant your 16 rounds, do your deity worship, read the scriptures, if possible, serve the devotees, get up next day in the morning, chant your rounds, read the scriptures, serve the deities, serve the Vaishnavas. And then that basically is basically what your life would look like for the rest of eternity. That's what the promise is, that this is what bhakti is all about. But it almost seems to be designed to extract, to sap away enthusiasm. So Krishna being merciful, the acharyas being merciful, understand that is the nature of a conditioned soul. If he had a natural taste for it, then of course this would not be a problem. If there is something that we like, we have no problem doing it over and over again. We develop a greater attraction to it. But in a conditioned state, we don't. We lack that natural taste. So doing it over and over again is certainly going to take away enthusiasm. Now, I can bet, and not going to ask you to share the experiences, but I can bet that in almost all of our lives, when we first took to Krishna consciousness, everything was at a higher level. When I remember when somebody first told us to chant, and then we started chanting, and then it was basically like a whole new experience, and we wanted to chant again, and then we would ask, what better way to chant? Get up in the morning, set the alarm, get up in the morning, chant. We would be at the temple all the time, doing some kinds of service. And then as time passed on, it kind of it kind of ebbed, because the novelty kind of wears off. Initially, it's a new experience. Things are new, and the novelty wears off, and then the enthusiasm also wears off. So they say that the first and the most potent way to solve a problem is to identify the problem. So we have identified the problem, that what is it that saps our enthusiasm, which is doing the same thing over and over again. Now, we have also identified that this is what sadhana bhakti is, doing the same thing over and over again. So that is why what the acharyas give us is the ability to do things differently. So in the scriptures, and Srila Prabhupada was fond of quoting it, he would say that festivals are the mother of bhakti. It's an interesting statement, that one may think in itself, festivals like Janmashtami and Dashera, Ram Navami, they are festivals that are executed as part of celebrating Krishna's appearance, Lord Ram's appearance. But Srila Prabhupada, he would go one step ahead and say, they are not an anga of bhakti. Festivals are the mother of bhakti. And the reason is that it helps us generate enthusiasm in us. That when Janmashtami is coming, it's a huge festival, and we have our own experience in there. That Janmashtami is coming, and we take on some service, and all of us are enthusiastic about it. Last Janmashtami, we were making aloo tikki, and we did so much research. What kind of aloo tikki? We made aloo tikki, ate it ourselves, and then we did this whole planning of how to establish the supply chain. One person will be making the potatoes, other person will be frying it, some people will be serving it, how to give breaks, how to rotate, etc. And it was one stall, and there must have been like 12 or 14 of us serving over there. But it was something that is different. So a desire in us and a continuous deference to this injunction on festivals. Sometimes we think that, my God, I'm already so tired. Can't do festivals. I have to chant my rounds. I have to finish my reading. I have to do this. But actually, it is these festivals that will generate this energy in us to go on for the next so many days. That the next day to Janmashtami, we may be completely tired. We may have attended the midnight arti, fasted the whole day. Some people do nirjal, some people chant 64 rounds. So all that is happening. But maybe we are tired the next day. But all that has generated in us regenerated the enthusiasm. The second point that was made is, and this is again resonating with the point that Srila Prabhupada used to make, that what happens if you want something and you don't have it. So he would give the example that there is a person who wants to become a thief, but he lacks the skills to become a thief. So how does he become a thief? He hangs out with other thieves. He will understand the tricks of the trade, how to pick the lock, the best time to steal from a house, maybe assist them in burglaries. But if there is something that you want and you don't have, you get it from those who have it. So Prabhupada would say, if you do not have enthusiasm, import enthusiasm. So importing is by associating with those who are enthusiastic. So I think almost all of you gave this point of Vaishnav Sangha association. So I would go one step ahead and say that not just association, but association with those who are enthusiastic. So let's assume that I'm a downer. Somebody comes to me and I say, yeah, somehow I chant my rounds, and I have to do some reading, so I do it, and it's such a bore. So the more you associate with me, the more difficult it will be for you to be enthusiastic about your own practices. Right? But instead of that, you associate with somebody. Amongst the senior devotees that we associate with, I don't know if you have had the fortune to associate with Vaisheshika Prabhu. He is what I consider to be the living embodiment of enthusiasm. He is, I'm guessing, he is probably 70. He does not look a day over 40. Tall, well-built, strong, and he's in everything that he does. He's like, he has this enthusiasm of a school kid. Learning shlokas, doing kirtan, book distribution is his main thing. Literally, when he walks into the room to give a class, even before he speaks, you can see the energy in that room going up. He just brings that enthusiasm. He sits and then he says Hare Krishna, and then people are there, and some people are slouching, and some people are looking into their phones, and then he says Hare Krishna, just that Hare Krishna. Everybody sits a little straighter, people put their phones away, and he just infuses people. So it is for us both, because as practiced devotees, we need enthusiasm and we need to inspire others to be enthusiastic. So when we associate with those who are enthusiastic, then we automatically become enthusiastic. It's infectious. We may not be enthusiastic in that particular area. So I remember once this devotee came. He was now he is at that time was a brahmachari. Now he is the GBC minister for DT worship, and Australian devotee, and he was very enthusiastic with his own service of DT worship. Very, very, with lot of details, and he gave a seminar in the temple. Every small thing, he had so much of so much of love for attention to details. How to do Achaman, how to offer arti, how to greet the lords. And maybe there were other people who were not that much into deity worship. There were many people who attended the seminar and perhaps did not take to deity worship with the same level of details. But nevertheless, they left that seminar more enthusiastic about the services that they liked to do. Whether somebody liked kirtan, somebody liked playing instruments. So it's the quality of the enthusiasm that is important. So when we are trying to cultivate enthusiasm in us, then if you are able to consciously keep our eyes on these principles of how to constructively introduce variety, or speaking otherwise, how not to become a victim of the whole process being monotonous. So monotony is the bane of making advancements. If you want to make advancement, then the last thing you want is to experience a sense of monotony. So let me stop at this point and get some thoughts from you, some guidance from you, for my benefit and the others, that what is it that you do from as practicing devotees to maintain your enthusiasm on an ongoing basis. Now you have given me some points like gratitude and taking inspiration from others. So this one I'm asking more from the perspective of, what do you do when you see your enthusiasm waning? When you see that things are becoming monotonous, how do you recognize it, and how do you rectify it? Any thoughts?
One thought, Prabhuji, that which I am doing may not be practically so right for a long-term basis, but the idea of regularity on a stipulated time is not there for me. So sometimes what I do is like if 11:30 I am still awake, example, then somehow be awake until 12 and try to finish off my chanting and then sleep, so that next day when I get up, even if it is late, I have the sense of relaxation that it is over. And so that is something that I am trying. Even if it is little odd, I have the feeling that okay, chanting is over, I can sleep more. That relaxation is there. So,
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
I mean, this breaking, Prabhuji, breaking the monotony to get back to an enthusiastic life at every moment. There's so much to do, even if I'm not a practiced devotee, but by just the thought of even Lord Krishna's pastime, his stories, his whether we chant or kirtan or do some puja or there's so much, right? How do you get bored? Even if you are doing A to Z, there is A1 to Z1, then you finish that, there is A2 to... There is, I think, this infinite amount of opportunity that exists to be in love with him. And I'm sure there are so many paths you would know, which I don't know for sure. It just amazes me every time I get into a mood of just feeling Lord Krishna. It's just, even that same feeling is never boring. It's never monotonous. Even if it's just the same thought, same feeling. Obviously, people are doing it in an organized way, which I don't. But I don't feel the monotony at all. I know I don't do it like you people for sure, but I find it too infinite.
That's a great thought, Pat. Thank you for sharing.
Krishna Prabhuji. I believe, in like from my realization, enthusiasm is also infectious. So if you consciously make effort to be around the devotees who are doing the particular service more enthusiastically, or you have seen them, that they are very enthusiastic doing that particular thing, and you be around them by making conscious decisions, then that also helps.
Excellent point. Thank you, Shivani.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. For me, like enthusiasm, like when, especially in chanting, even it goes down, I think do two things. Like I try to pray to Krishna for that, and second thing, I ask other devotees to pray for me. Somehow, when I pray, it doesn't work, but when someone else prays, that okay, because that is going down, like interest in chanting or getting irregular, that helps. Like prayers of other devotees does help.
Wow, that's a really good point, Laddu Gopal Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Amrita. Prabhuji, recognizing the level of enthusiastic or mood is going down, I feel it's easy because Krishna is within our heart as a super soul. Whenever we are deviating, there are different levels of dedications. Whatever I have determined, like I have to do like this. If I'm not able to do, definitely somehow or other my consciousness, echoes me like you are not doing. So recognition is there. At the same time, as Prabhuji mentioned, like praying. For me, I used to pray, Krishna, please, give me intelligence so that I can continue. At least not in a high level, but at least continue. So that helps. One day, Prabhuji, I was telling you in one class, though I am able to recognize I'm not doing good and wanted to improve my quality of chanting, but again then I'm not able to do. But to be honest, if praying with a sincere heart, then it's happening. Like I realize, it's happening. Like my quality of japa is increasing. Like getting better and better day by day. At the same time, with associations of senior devotees and serious devotees, speaking to them, how they are doing, suppose discussing with them, like I have this type of obstacles, I really wanted to come out of it, then that also helps so many times. Yeah.
Good, very good. Thank you, Amrita.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I also believe, Prabhuji, kids is a big factor in keeping us enthusiastic about our devotional service, and they bring a very fresh perspective in our devotional life. So, for example, nowadays when we are doing Bhagavatam study every day with kids, I mean, I'm sure if I'm just doing it on my own or just me and Shivani, I mean, we'll get bored very soon. But when kids are listening in and we are trying to also kind of make them explain, and the kind of questions that they ask in return really helps us, being on our toes also. And sometimes we say, okay, we don't know the answer to this question, we'll do more research and we'll ask you or something like that. So that's one part I'm seeing where kids are actually pulling us closer to Krishna. And the second part also that I observed is when we are doing RP, etc., and sometimes kids join, sometimes they don't. And I feel that, if I'm doing it for Krishna enthusiastically, and I've observed it, that automatically they will come and join, not at the beginning maybe, but in the middle, and maybe one will come and the other will get pulled. So then it makes a good quorum by the time the aarti ends. So I think kids, if we are having a very Krishna conscious environment at home, it really, keeps your devotional life enthusiastic if we are part of it.
So,
I just wanted to, I agree with what Pat was saying and also what Shivani was saying, that enthusiasm is very infectious. And Pat was saying that how can one get bored? There's always so much to do and so much to, learn and so much to, so I was thinking on what you were saying at that point, that how we can always engage our propensities in Krishna's service. So that's how I keep my enthusiasm up. Is one is, of course, I like to hear lectures of enthusiastic devotees and proper disciples. So it really helps with keeping my consciousness in the right place, and then doing the things that I love to do, that I find fun and make me happy, which is like something like maybe reading or painting something. Like right now I'm painting the altar, or what's the others, maybe gardening, doing something fun. So yeah, those things. And because when I'm doing those and I'm hearing lectures, so it's like I'm engaging my mind and my ears, and also at the same time feeling that, oh, this is so nice, I'm doing this for, the feeling is good that I'm doing this for Krishna.
thank you.
That helps with the enthusiasm.
Thank you. Wonderful. Any other thoughts? I have yes, Laddu Gopal.
Just one which I don't see here is a reciprocation to get, because enthusiasm doesn't stay long if he doesn't get any reciprocations. Like even say other devotees comes and give you a compliment like you're doing well or something. So that's where I think it's also important.
Good.
Another point I had, Prabhuji, is little may not be very spiritual way of saying it. When you really like what you do, I don't think you can beat the enthusiasm. And how do we constantly choose? Because the choice is ours, right? At the end of the day, it's my choice to sit here. Even I have a busy day today. Actually, it's been a very stressful day for me from a work perspective. But I thought that's okay. I can devote 2 hours to listen to some of you, all of you, and particularly you, Prabhuji. So, and I like to do that. It's okay. I may not be doing it in a very disciplined way, but if you start liking what you do, you can never kill your enthusiasm, because it's infectious. It's internal. The essence of it, if you are liking it, you may not understand every aspect of it, but the spirit of it is so good. So I think the best way to do, in my view, there is the vastness of this Krishna consciousness is so infinite, so mesmerizing. You just cannot get bored. It's impossible. So, and once you fall in that trap, or the so-called, trap is a bad word, in that nasha, you just get intoxicated. You don't need to drink. You are always on a high. Because it is so infinite. You really believe it, it's just not possible to get bored.
It's very interesting. The Prabhupada, when he initially came to the US, it was at the height of the hippie movement, and one of his taglines to Krishna consciousness was "Chant and stay high forever, ever." Everybody there was trying to stay high.
Every time I'm telling you, this little admission of mine. I know I got a lot to do, but every time even if I listening to somebody from ISKCON in YouTube, somebody from Hungary, I don't know him. He just too mesmerizing. That how is he able to do it without any background of Hinduism, any background of I come from Jagannath Puri side. He doesn't even know where it is. How can he get in so much of love for Lord Jagannath without even going to Puri? And here I am born there. I mean, shame on me. So it's a very negative, intuitive way of doing it, but at the same time, it brings out an enthusiasm in you, saying, "Oh my God, so much I missed out. I'm just next to it." So I think it is too infinite, Prabhuji. It just bothers me. How can I? Because your question was a great question. What happens when you lose the enthusiasm? Because maybe it is too monotonous, and thereby enthusiasm fades away. For me, it is just not going away. Ever since, every time I come a little bit close to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Pat Prabhu. So very nice points that are made. Piali, you had a point?
No, yeah. So I was going to say, like, for me, the maintaining of enthusiasm has been typically with the Friday programs. Like, at the end of the day, every Friday evening, I say, okay, I'm too tired. I just need to relax and rest. And then, then I somehow tell myself, I know that if I don't go, I will feel bad about it. So let me push myself. And I definitely have a good time after I go. The whole thing, the association, the lecture, the prashad, the whole thing. So it just is like the reset button, if you will.
I think you made two wonderful points here. One is to getting over the latent inertia, and the second is putting yourself out there, going out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is, I'm tired after the week, let me just unwind, and kind of putting yourself out there. Thank you. So I see the points that are made, and I'm never ceased to be amazed at how the points that are made by those who are sincerely practicing so much resonate with the recommendations that are given to us by acharyas, by those who have a lot of advancements, who appeared, it almost seems like timeless. Like some of these were given by Vaishnavas who appeared 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and they're still true today. Different times, different environments, but still very much relevant today. And they kind of fall in two categories. One which is from within, and the other that is from without, from outside. So from within, there are things that we can do that are more pragmatic. Like Ravi Prabhu gave this example, which I translated to trying to plan your day. That that you have to or you want to achieve something. How do you organize your day? Like I know in my case, if I don't chant my rounds in the morning, then I know, based on my past experience, that my quality of chanting will be very much diminished. So that's how I try to plan my day. That I don't succeed all the time, and also it doesn't mean that my chanting is superb, but it is better in the morning than it is in the afternoon or the evening. So I go to bed early, I get up, I get up early, I try to chant. Similarly, in other endeavors, Prabhupada would give this example that Rampal Maharaj is very, very fond of giving, which is the big stone, small stone analogy. That you have a vessel, and then you have to put a number of things in the vessel. There are rocks, then there are smaller rocks, there are pebbles, there is sand, there is water. All of it needs to go into the vessel. And the person might come and first put the water in the vessel and then put sand, and then when he comes to the rocks, the vessel is already put. But if somebody is more deliberate about it, they first put the big rocks, then they put the smaller rocks, then the pebbles, then the sand, then the water. and then everything fits in the, so there is space for everything. So same things that you have to put in, the same capacity, but in one sequence they don't fit, in the other sequence they fit beautifully. So what is the key behind it? Prioritizing. That if you prioritize things, and that basically involves deliberation, that I prioritize this over this and this over this. Like Pat was making the point that I've had a busy day, and at the end of it I could do one of three things. Or Pyali is saying I have a busy week, and I could do XYZ, or I could do nothing. But by prioritizing it, that this is more important amongst all the 3 or 4 options that I have, that is a recipe for building enthusiasm. That now suddenly you're able to not only fit things, but you're able to fit things on a higher enthusiasm scale. That you know that there was a devotee that he was actually the one who was largely responsible for inspiring us to Krishna consciousness, and he would ask us to come to the temple in the morning to chant with him, and we would go there. And I used to be surprised. I used to get tired seeing him, that he used to chant 16 rounds, and he would walk. He would circumambulate Prabhupada while chanting. And it wasn't just like a meditative kind of a walk. It was actually what, at those time, I don't think that concept was there, but it is what now you would call power walking. He would, like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, and he would, go there. I would think he probably walked 5 to 6 miles during that time. And I was the complete opposite, right? If I walked, I would be focusing on walking, and of course I would get tired. But the point that he made is that this is what keeps me enthusiastic in my chanting. He says, if sitting quietly in a more, and of course at that time he was trying to encourage me. He would say, Prabhu, you're a Brahman, you're in the mode of goodness. I'm more in the mode of passion, so I have to walk, so good for you. But he was actually a very advanced devotee, but the takeaway was that find out something that keeps your energy level high. Whether it's the time of the day, whether it is the way of doing it. Some people chant listening to Prabhupada jap. Some people chant listening to other people chanting. There's a young brahmachari, at that time he was young, many years ago, in New York, and I would be surprised that before chanting, he had this small, like a japa toolkit, and he would sit and he would open up his toolkit. In the toolkit, he had a picture of his Guru Maharaj. He had a picture of deities, some deities that were inspirational to him. He had a small Prabhupada japa box where Prabhupada would be chanting. He had some maha that he would get, some deity paraphernalia. He had some beads, which I'm guessing were of some importance to him. So he had this small toolkit, and he was very, very. It was almost like a ritual to him. He would sit, he would put his asan, sit on it, open his japa toolkit, his Guru Maharaj's picture, Prabhupada's picture, switch on the japa box, and then I noticed he would sit without moving, chant 16 rounds. I would be, most of us chant, we look around, we take a break, and he would chant with so much of focus. So essentially, he had kind of built the environment that he knew would encourage him. So we anything that we succeed in is because we deliberately plan to succeed in it. Right? Some of us may be fortunate that we accidentally become good at something. But otherwise, it's generally, as they say, a little bit of inspiration and a lot of perspiration. That's what makes us succeed. Same concept over here. That we have put in so much of deliberateness in succeeding in different aspects of our life. We need a modicum of the same in Krishna consciousness. Find out what works for you. And it may be different. There's no right and wrong answers. It may be different. So we heard so many things over here. But find out that which works specifically for you. That's why they say that bhakti is for everyone and is for everybody and is for you. So there are principles of bhakti that are cross-cutting. And then there is you as a person with a unique relationship with Krishna. You as a person with a unique swabhav. And there is bhakti for you. How do you organize your chanting? How do you organize your reading? There are devotees who will recite the Shashtakam prayers or will read Prabhupada's Leelamrita. So many ways, like Pat was saying, that there is an infinite variety. Krishna is so kind to us, right? He has not said that you have to come here and chant Om and be quiet, and that's the one and only way. Right? It is Ekapad. That before I came to Krishna consciousness, because I was generally in that mood. So in Delhi there is this place called ashram. The place is in South Delhi, ashram, which is famous for an ashram and very well maintained, large area, and the whole idea of going over there is to make spiritual advancements. But essentially they would, when they had their programs, you would go inside a room and then you would sit over there. That's it. That you would just go and sit over there, and they would ask you to sit and meditate. They were basically impersonalists, so they would ask you to meditate on nothingness or meditate on yourself or something like that. And I kind of, because I wanted to do it, I stayed there for I think almost like a month or so. I mean, I didn't stay in that ashram, but I went there for a month or so. And then after that, it became very, very difficult. I would actually dread going there because that whole experience would replay in my mind. That you would just basically go in there. There is a room which was almost dark, and you just go and sit there, hang out over there for an hour. And there were some people who would say we sit for 6 hours, 7 hours, and that's the level of advancement. But it was very, very difficult for me. But in Krishna consciousness, there's infinite variety. So Srila Prabhupada would say that you can celebrate a festival every day. In the spiritual world, every day is a festival. Every step is a dance. Every word is a song. Every piece of water is nectar. That's the definition of the spiritual world. That's what we are trying to do, to get a glimpse of the spiritual world while we are here in this material conception. The second interesting point that was made is to understand that you cannot do it by yourself, which is very, very important. So Laddu Gopal Prabhu made this point of begging for mercy. So we know that despite everything that we plan and we do, because of our conditioning, our enthusiasm will get directed to something else. We were talking to devotees in Vrindavan, very senior devotees, and they were saying that Vrindavan is wonderful, but after some time we go to Delhi to watch a movie because it just becomes too overwhelming. So you can only do so much from within. From without, the power of blessings and mercy can never be underestimated. So one of the first points that was made by Ravi Prabhu was gratitude. And even the points that were made subsequently by Laddu Gopal Prabhu, Pyali, is this sense of knowing that you need help and having confidence that help is available. It is available through the mystic process of prayers. It is available through the more experiential process of taking shelter. So when we pray, then of course when advanced devotees pray, it's like a conversation. We are not at that level. At our level, when we pray, it is like unidirectional. We are praying and we are hoping it ends somewhere. But then having that faith that there is somebody that is listening to the prayer and responding to it is powerful. So if we see that we are losing enthusiasm, or if we have enthusiasm and we want more of it, then we pray for it. Sometimes we say that Krishna is in our heart, he knows everything. He does know everything, but he still expects us to ask. Prabhupada would give this example that the mother still waits for the child to cry before she feeds him. The mother knows that the child is hungry, but she waits for the child to cry. So Krishna knows everything. Our spiritual master knows everything. But we have to open our heart and our arms. Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, he wrote this series of books which were the beggar series, he called them, which basically had this mood of begging for mercy, begging for enthusiasm, begging for empowerment. And the second is from without is by this point was made that by taking shelter of others. You would like to grow in enthusiasm. So what do? You ask somebody who has enthusiasm. You ask them for advice and you ask them for their blessings. Or more potent ways that you serve those who have enthusiasm. And the way of Krishna consciousness is that when you serve somebody, then the mercy automatically comes. The conduit for mercy is opened. So I'll speak a few more minutes about the other topic that I had, which was the importance of patience. So patience is important because we may have determination or we may have enthusiasm, but we may not see what we hope to see in the time frame that we want to see it. So we take to Krishna consciousness, we start chanting, and then after some time we feel that we're not making sufficient progress. And then there is the whole creeper of doubt that starts cultivating from our heart. So instead of cultivating bhakti, we cultivate doubt. That yesterday when I was chanting, I fell asleep. I don't know if chanting is for me. Or like Pyali was giving the example that I know I should go to the Namhat, but maybe somebody says, I don't feel like it. So maybe Vaishnav Sangha is not for me. So we start getting this doubt, and the doubt is natural, because we are used to an environment where we have this desire for gratification. We are designed like that in our conditioned state. If you're hungry, you want food now. You don't want somebody to sit and talk to you about the glories of food, right? You like, give me food. And as you see the environment, at least from a material perspective, advancing, then what is actually increasing is how quickly can you gratify yourself. So I remember when we were children, then so it was our family tradition to watch a movie, and we used to watch one movie a month, and the whole month we were, this anticipation used to be there, that movie weekend is coming, and we would mark the date on the calendar, and the countdown would begin, and on the day of the movie, right from the morning, we were all like, today movie, quick cooking, this, that, and that used to be the movie. Now you want to watch a movie, you open Netflix, you flick a few fingers, and the movie is right in your room. So the latency for you to fulfill your desires. Just talking to India, when I initially came, then AT&T would charge $3.20 per minute to, I think, Pat, you probably will remember, others have come much later. So AT&T would charge $3.20 a minute. And then, so that time, not much money also. So they gave you credit for the first minute if it was a bad connection. So you picked up the phone, hello, how are you, everything okay? Yeah. So I would have a watch, and at 55 seconds I would hang up. And then after some time I would call and check, and again hang up. The big thing was that everybody in India, they would be enthusiastically waiting for your call, because they would know that it would be short and it would be few and far in between. And firstly, most of the time we would not get the phone also. The phone system in India was so bad. So I remember I had bought this auto dialer that would keep trying, and that poor thing would try for like 10-15 minutes, make like hundreds of dials, and then it would get through. And so people in India knew that it was difficult to get through. And when the call came in, then everybody would be around the phone trying to speak, I'm okay, how are you, everything is fine. Now there's WhatsApp. I call India, the person picks up over there, says, I'm too busy right now, can you call later on? So, my mother would say, now she doesn't watch, but she would say, I'm watching Abhi Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, so I can't miss it, so call me later on. Right? So the whole charm of it has disappeared. But unfortunately, there are no shortcuts in bhakti. That we have been given a process, and it does not mean now. Yes, it is easier for us to associate. We have conference calls and we have Zoom calls like this. It's easier for us to associate. Technology is helping us, but it's a process that takes its time. The process works from within. It works to reverse our conditioning from many lifetimes, and we have to be patient. Srila Prabhupada would give this example that when a young woman is married, she's eager to be a mother, but she has to wait at least 9 months. She can't be a mother before that. Doesn't matter how eager she is. That's the process. You have to wait for 9 months. So we have been given a process. The process works slowly and steadily. Bhayahari Prabhu gives the example of growing nails or growing hair. And he says, you look at your nail, there's no change in your nails from one day to another. But sure enough, you have to cut your nails. It means that your nails are growing. Even though there'll be never a time when you'll see your nails growing. But they are still growing. That's the efficacy of the process. That if you engage in the process, you are definitely going to make advancement. There is no two ways around it. Now, because the process is happening at a subtle level, it's not that one day morning you will get up and wake up as a pure devotee. It's not that one day you will suddenly lose all taste for mundane things and be fully absorbed in the spiritual aspect. But yes, what will happen is that the needle will gradually move. One of the things that is strongly recommended for devotees to do is to keep a journal, wherein you can share your inner thoughts. And there, if you go back to 4 years, 5 years ago, and then you see your realizations, and then you see that what is the difference that has happened. And patience is such a virtue that Krishna, he reciprocates very, very strongly. When in the Bhagavatam, when Brahma, he did a big offense to Krishna. He stole the cowherd boys, stole the cows, put them in a cave, and turned around to see, is Krishna going to get bewildered? Then he realized he made a mistake, and he came and he recited these beautiful prayers. And then one of the verses that he recited, which is a favorite amongst practicing devotees, it comes in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8. So I'll recite the verse and read the translation. Tatte nukampam susumekshamano Bunjanevatma kritam vipakam Redvagvapurabhi vidadan namaste Jive tuyumukti padisadayabhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past deeds and offering your respectful obeisances within his heart, words and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So Brahma uses very strong words. He says that it has become his rightful claim. What? Krishna Bhakti. Why? Because he is patiently waiting for the mercy of the Lord while he is earnestly practicing devotional service. So in fact, the words over here, and the acharyas expand more on it, they say that Daya Bhag actually refers to the right of a son to inherit the property of the father. The son does not have to do anything. Just because he is the son, he automatically gets the right to inherit the property of the father, assuming the father doesn't kick him out under normal circumstances. So similarly, a devotee who is patiently waiting for Krishna's mercy while doing two things, tolerating, because misfortunes will happen. That's the nature of the material world. People sometimes take to bhakti, and the first time something negative happens, they bail out of it. And they say, how could this have happened to me? I was doing bhakti and now I become sick. Or I was doing bhakti and this thing has happened to me, which means that this whole process is not working, right? So things will happen. Brahma says that while suffering the reactions of his past deeds, Brahma is the very embodiment of intelligence. So he is saying that whatever is happening because of your past deeds. Nothing to do with Krishna. So it's like you were a scoundrel, you did a bunch of stuff, and now when the time has come to pay the bill, you're expecting Krishna to write the check for you. Krishna does write the check, but he subsidizes. He does not completely take over the bill. So there will be some suffering, and one who endures this suffering while they are earnestly practicing the various angas of bhakti, such a person, just like a son has all rights on the father's property, such a devotee has all rights on Krishna's bhakti. So, from a practical perspective, patience is the fulcrum between enthusiasm and enthusiasm is counterbalanced by patience. That enthusiasm means do more, do more, do more. And patience is wait. That we do more out of enthusiasm, but we patiently wait for the results to come in. That we start following the angas of bhakti, chanting, reading, and then we may immediately not see this eruption of bhakti in us, but we patiently wait for the results while maintaining our enthusiasm. And the example that was given was that of Kunti Devi. She embodies this patience, because if you look at the life of Kunti Devi, it is one trial and tribulation after another. That she was married, and very soon after she married Maharaj Pandu, he was cursed, so he left his kingdom, went to the jungle, started living over there, but he could not give her a child. So she prayed to the devas, got a child, but then her husband died, and then with her children she went back, and then there was all this intrigue about killing the Pandavas. So constantly one intrigue after another, and in the end when she prays to Krishna, she actually glorifies the fact that she says, thank you for sending me all these problems, because whenever you send me these problems, I would be thinking more about you. So this is the embodiment of patience. That you're looking for opportunities to see positive in the negative. So Kunti Devi was the aunt of Krishna, and she was aware that Krishna is the personality of Godhead. Right? But she didn't have this impatience that, my dear nephew, your God, fix something for me. In at least in India, if you're related to somebody who is powerful or rich, then people come there and say, do this for me. What's the point of you being influential or being wealthy? Take care of this. You should do this. Kunti Devi never had that mood. So very patiently she was tolerating all the negativity that was happening while maintaining her faith in Krishna. So let me stop over here and see if there are any thoughts or comments.
Yeah, one question and a little bit of experience I want to share it with you from my heart. When you were talking about 20 minutes back, Krishna knows everything, but still you need to, in your bhakti, you need to pray and ask. I had a question 5 minutes back before you spoke, that to ask that question. In a prayer, do I really ask him for that help? Whatever little help I want. It's not a material help, some help, guidance. When somebody's almost in a helpless situation and praying, does one really say, I need this? And I think you were answering and I wanted to know what's written there in scripture. I know many people say in different ways, but what's written in the holy book of Krishna scriptures. So that was one which you have, I think, answered it. Yes, it is okay to ask. And just like you gave the example of a crying baby for the milk. It's a good example in my belief. I think where the experience that I wanted to share with you is this, something really freaks me out these days. When I'm in the mood of Lord Krishna's love, I want to know, I want to understand, want to get. Within minutes, it's just coming to me through somebody, either through a devotee or through YouTube. It doesn't matter whom. I'm just listening to you. There are 4 questions in my mind. They're about to pop those questions, but before I pop the questions, you have already answered them. So that kind of freaks me out. This is an example. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. But it's still want to ask whether it's okay to ask once or ask every time I pray. Where does the fine line reside? Because it bothers me a little bit between a patience to determination to enthusiasm. All 3 are in their own space, right? You have to have patience. Yes, a simple, commonsensical man experiences that everything takes time. A flower takes time to bloom. You have given an example of a nail growing, a hair growing. We all have grown in our 40, 50, 30, whatever age we are in. We have grown, but we have never felt, we have never seen that growth ourselves. Forget about our children, our wives, our parents, whoever they are, our friends. We are growing every day, but yet still we can't really believe that we are growing. And one fine day we have grown. But it has come at every moment, scientifically, spiritually, whichever way you go. My question is that in that prayer, Prabhu, does one ask Krishna that a little demand from the out of the helplessness, that ask, is it once or is it every time I pray, or I have to have patience and because I've already asked once? You told me to ask, I asked, and he's all-knowing. Why am I repeating it? And should I just have a patience and pray without asking? Because I've already prayed and asked. I've done that so-called ritual once. Why do I have to need to repeat it? And if he is so merciful, which he is, I believe, very strongly, and not because somebody is saying, I just believe it. He's too merciful. And I don't think the child cries twice before the mother really runs to feed. Yes, probably mother is waiting for the cry, but I don't think the mother enjoys the child crying and she can feed and she's not coming to feed. So that's a little bit of dichotomy I have, and need a little bit expert comment from you.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's a practical and a deep question. So I'll give you an example that, when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is essentially a prayer for service. Right? The purport of the mantra is, when we say Hare Krishna, we are saying that, so the Hare refers to Radharani. So we say, O Radha, the internal energy of Krishna, please give me an opportunity to serve you. And we say that prayer 108 times on one when we do one round, and we do 16 rounds. So repetition is recommended, right? So now think of it from Krishna's perspective. So sometimes when children are small and they basically get fixated on something, I want it, and he'll say, be quiet. And that person, be quiet for 2 minutes, I want it. They'll go, and eventually what do? You give them what they what they want. Now, the prayers that we do, they are as much to convey our desires to Krishna and also as much for our own purification. So when you ask from Krishna, then you're making several implicit statements. You're accepting the supremacy of Krishna. You're accepting the fact that you are dependent on Krishna. You're casting your ego aside and you're taking the mood of a beggar. That you're spreading your arms out and saying that you're great, I'm small, I'm begging you for this thing. Right? And the more you do, that mood becomes stronger. The mood of humility, the mood of accepting the predominance of Krishna. Sometimes we feel that praying to Krishna, it undermines our position as, like there is that saying, or it's not a saying, it's some kind of a song, that one should become so determined that even God will ask you what your wish is. Right? The point is that you bend God to your desire. Right? That's the other end of the spectrum. Right? That's not our mood. Our mood in prayers is that we accept the fact that we are completely dependent on Krishna. That is the potency of the prayers, because they help to emphasize on this mood. And Krishna likes it not because it gives him a ego boost, that I have another person who's sitting now praying in front of me. Krishna likes it because it is purifying us to our constitutional position, whether we like it or not. So we had this earlier on. We had this discussion about independence, right? And whether we like it or not, we are constitutionally dependent on Krishna. Jivere Swarupoy Nitya Krishna Das. That's a constitutional position. In a conditioned state, we may see it as diminishing our stature. That why should I be the servant of somebody? But for those who are enlightened, being the servant of Krishna, I mean, like your last name, like what does it mean?
Servant.
It means servant. So in the earlier days, those who were more in an enlightened platform, they consider it to be a matter of glory. I identify myself to be a servant of the Lord, or I identify myself to be a servant of the Lord. That is what prayers do. That is what they help endorse, and that's why Krishna likes. Now, what we ask depends on the level of our advancement. That ideally speaking, so this is perfection. The only thing that we should ask from Krishna is an opportunity to serve him and his devotees. That is perfection. But Prabhupada would say, while you're a practicing devotee, you go for everything and ask Krishna. So whether you're asking for a quicker commute, whether you're asking for a promotion, whether you're asking for good health, or whether you're asking for bhakti, go for everything to ask for Krishna. But don't make him an order supplier. So don't limit your relationship to that interaction. Within the wider perspective of a relationship, like what is the primary relationship of the child with the parents? They're asking, give me this, give me this, give me this. When the child grows, then their asking reduces. They will ask less and less. But the interesting thing is that while the child is asking for more, the parents are more protective about them. They are more loving to them. When the child grows up and starts demonstrating their independence, or they develop ego and say, why should I ask? then the parents will also reciprocate commensurately there. So ask for everything, but in the right mood, not as an order supply. That Krishna, the only purpose of your existence is to fulfill my demands, and if you don't, there's no need for you. Not in that mood, but in the mood that Krishna, if you so desire, give it to me. If you're not able to give it to me, I understand. Brahma's prayers that I'm patiently tolerating the reactions of my past misdeeds. So I understand that you will give me what I need and not what I want. So that trust on Krishna, that I might say that I need a white elephant, and I might say, I'm sorry, that I want a white elephant. But Krishna knows you get a white elephant and you will die just taking care of the white elephant. So he will give you what is best for you. He will give you what you actually need, and not just reciprocating with your wants. So that faith in Krishna, if it is there, then yes, it is recommended that we ask. We ask over and over again. We ask regularly, and we ask from Krishna. Why go somewhere else? We ask from Krishna and Krishna only. Okay.
Thank you.
So we will stop here. I think I went a little bit over. Anybody has any concluding thoughts?
No, most of the time it does happen with me itself. Whatever I ask, I never get that. But whatever I get is better than what I ask. So somehow it like that only.
That's the mood of a true devotee. That there's this pastime, right? That there was a king who had a minister, and the minister would say, "Whatever God does is best for you." And they went hunting in the jungle, and the horse kicked the king off, and the king fell and he broke his hand, his finger actually. And the minister said, "Whatever the God has done best for you." And this king got really upset, and he said, "You get out from here." He banished him from his kingdom. So the next time he went hunting, he happened to be captured by these Adivasis. And they basically bathed him and said, "Okay, ready for now sacrifice of Kali." So they were preparing him, and they saw that he was missing a finger. And they said, "Nah, he is defective. We can't offer him, so let him go." So the king was very happy, and he went back and he called the minister, and he said that, "You're right, this was for my benefit, but I still have a question for you." He said, "Why?" He said, "I got saved, but because you spoke like this, I kicked you out of my palace, I spoke like that to you, so how is that good for you?" So minister said, "Generally when you go hunting, I go along with you. So if they hadn't sacrificed you, they would have sacrificed me. So the fact that you kicked me out, that protected me also." So that faith that whatever Krishna does in the short term may look good or bad, but in the long term, it's for our benefit.
Yeah, it's always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Anura for Narsinghdev prayer. Okay, you can start whenever you're ready.